Welcome. My name's Liam. This is the Freelance Lift series of events. So we've got 3 events that we're running over a 7-day period to just celebrate really that we've got to a milestone. We've hit a real milestone that we looked to put in place around 5 months ago. I made a pledge to help 100 people personally. Moreover, I pledged to help grow a group of 100 people that would be part of what I referred to then as Freelance Lift Pro. Now, thankfully, we've made that number, so I'm absolutely delighted that that's the case. Now, but then what? You know, we've got 1,000 members that are in the free account, 100 members that were in the Freelance Lift Pro account. So it definitely felt as though there was room for something in the middle. So what, again, I'm pledging to do here is to give you as much information as I can, as much dialogue as I can, in order that we can get to a point of having something in the middle. So I'm going to wait for a few more people to file in here. But while we do that, I'll just show you my screen here so we can get started when we're ready to go. Again, this is Liam at Freelance Lift Pro. So the numbers are ticking up nicely here. Just looking to wait for a few more to come in. But whilst I do, I'll just let you know what the state of play is for this session today. So my name's Liam. I'm the author of this book, Stop Thinking Like a Freelancer, founder at Freelance Lift. And I'm a web designer by trade. I built my business up to a point where it was able to be written about, you know, a $1 million lifetime revenue. So far over the 3-4 years that we've been in operation, and now head up a team of people doing the kind of stuff that I did then as a web designer. So what I'm looking to do within this series of events over the next 7 days is to really just give you a flavor of what's been happening inside Freelance Lift Pro. Again, to give you the full script, what we've been able to do is grow a team of, or grow a group, should I say, of 100 freelancers who are looking to really grow this year. That group is now full and they couldn't be happier. I've got lots and lots of happy people that are sending me emails on a regular basis that are really knocking down some real goals in their business and doing things the way that they wanted to do them. So now what? We've got to figure out then how we can satisfy the people that are reading this book, the people that are free members within Freelance Lift, who maybe were sat on the fence in the past and maybe looked for something that was potentially in the middle of that range of $75 a month, which is Freelance Lift Pro, and $0, the free account. Everybody that's in Freelance Lift Pro now, so the 100 people, they're going to ascend to what I call the 100 Club. And in the middle, we're going to have a new level of Freelance Lift Pro. That's what this series of events is all about. A celebration of getting to that key milestone and, yeah, really getting to a point where we can help more people and not doing it in things that are going to tie up my time. So, for example, I give 20 minutes session one-on-one with everybody that's in the 100 Club. That's not really feasible if we were growing a group of 250 people, 300 people, 1,000 people or whatever. So what I want to do is get something in the middle that still gives you the key elements of Freelance Lift Pro, but does so in a way that's a bit more budget friendly. So with that said, we're going to get started. Could you just let me know in the Q&A box there that you can hear me? I don't want to be chatting to myself for the next hour or so. The view numbers are ticking up nicely as well, so we'll just wait for some correspondence. I know that there's a little bit of a delay on there as well. And then we'll get started. The purpose of today's session is really, what do you do if nobody knows your name? How do you go out there and market yourself? How do you go out there and promote you and who you are as a freelancer. So that's what the purpose of this is. We're talking about marketing. We're talking about attention getting. How do you go out there and attract attention in what is a very noisy world? Again, just drop me a line that you can hear me, and we'll get going. I can see the microphone levels there being okay. So test. And yeah, I think we're good to go. All right, so we'll jump straight into it then. As I said, the purpose of today is to talk about attention. How do you get attention in a noisy world? There's lots of other people that a potential prospect could look to work with when it comes to your services. So how do you stand, ahead of that crowd? How do you roar when other people are whispering? So first, let's just look at where we've come from. So the last session that we carried out here, we're looking at finding a clear vision of your market specialism. That is to say, who's going to be buying your service? It's not going to be just everybody or all businesses, because as we've looked at, that's what makes it feel a little bit anonymous. That's what makes it feel a little bit difficult to go out there and attract attention, go out there and justify yourself as a useful supplier. We also talked about the fact that was segments from the book, Define Your Dream Client, and the video course that's all in Freelance Lift Pro. Then we talked about how this dream client persona might fit into your web presence and what things you might need to do to adjust your website to accommodate that. So that was, again, highlights from the book, getting more out of your site, and the video course as well. So again, if you want to take a look at Freelance Lift Pro after this series of events is over, all of these are in there just to start on straight away. So where are we going then? So this today is all about marketing your message. How do you demand attention, as I say, in a noisy world? There are literally millions of other freelancers out there. You'll know if you've anything to do with Elance or Odesk or Fiverr that there are literally thousands of people that are competing for the exact same things that you're looking to sell. So it's really important to be visible outside of those circles. So it's all about pushing a message that's your own, that has some differentiation attached to it, and that really sets you apart from other people in your space. What we don't want to do, and this is everything that I try and fight against, what we don't want to do is just be another proposal, another one of the 50, 100 proposals that client is going to get for that particular project. What instead we want to do is to go out there and intercept clients where they might be congregating and be the blip on their radar. Make sure that you're visible for when they do go to market. It's preempting the fact that they might want to go to market soon, or hanging out in the places that they might exist in if they're looking to go to market for your service. So that's what we're going to talk about today. And it's a really key thing as well. And that's today's session. Then we're going to talk about building desire in prospects and delivering punchy, successful proposals. So that's Wednesday's session. Remember, this is a series of 3 events to celebrate the launch of a new level, a new Freelance Lift Pro level, now that the Freelance Lift 100 Club members are safely ascended into that 100 Club. So we'll skip the Q&A opportunity for now, just until we get a little bit further into this. So let's break down some potential obstacles then. And these are the things that I hear regularly. And what I intend to do with these, and again, this is a common way of approaching this for me. What I tend to do here is to try and give you some, not excuses, but some of the obstacles, the objections you might be having to going out there and building attention. Because if we can knock some of those down, if we can make you see that this is all possible for you, then it starts to remove some of these, it starts to remove those chains of procrastination. One of the key things that procrastination thrives on is a lack of clarity. If you have a lack of clarity in the things that you're looking to do, then you'll find every reason to try and learn everything there is to know about it before you actually go out there and start. So if you're feeling unclear where to start, if you're unclear what to start with marketing, then that's some of the things that we're going to break down today. So if then you're struggling to justify budget in this activity, and again, this goes for any sort of budget that you're looking to justify. What we're going to talk about in a couple of these examples, because again, what we're going to do is do some highlights from the Everything's Easier with Attention, the video course and the book on this particular topic. where we go through 20 ways that you can raise your voice, 20 ways that you can market yourself as a freelancer. Some of those inevitably will have budget constraints attached to them. So for example, Facebook ads. If you're looking to appear in more places, appear to the people that are looking to maybe need your service, then there's going to be an element of budget that's required for that. One of the things I always talk about when I talk about budget and trying to justify budget is to think about that everything has a budget attached to it. Everything has a cost, whether it's a time cost or a monetary cost. There is still a cost to bear there. So when you are taking time away from something else, so you're investing the time in doing it yourself. So you might be investing in Freelance Life Pro, for example, and figure, okay, well, I could probably figure out all this stuff on my own. But if it takes you 10 times as long to get there, likewise with Facebook ads, if it takes you 10 times longer to get there through organic Facebook stuff rather than going the paid route, then what you've lost there is the opportunity to do something else. That's what I call an opportunity cost. You've missed out on the opportunity to do something else in your business, whether that is more paid work, whether that is going out there and doing more stuff or having more time off. You've lost the opportunity to do that because you've invested your own time in doing this activity that you could effectively pay to shortcut. And you know, Facebook's a good example of that because, as I say, you can go out there and build 10, 20, 100 visits a day to your site from a specific audience of people organically on Facebook, organically on Twitter, organically on YouTube, organically on everywhere else that you might want to be pitching your message, places like Reddit, Quora, StumbleUpon, anywhere where you want to be visible. But guess what? It's going to probably take you 10 times as long. So I'm not here to advocate fully paid routes as marketing methods, but just bear that in mind that whatever happens, there is going to always be an opportunity cost if you're talking about investing your time rather than your money. So again, we've got various activities with a good mix of time and budget, but just bear that in mind that even for something that is free on paper, so something that's only going to take your time to do, there's an opportunity cost, an opportunity that you could be doing something else that's been lost. So this is another one. It's really, really common again, that, well, my site isn't ready yet for attention. And I do agree that your site needs to be in a good shape, or needs to be in good shape prior to letting people come and see it. But what I never would say is that it should be an excuse for procrastination on this particular topic. What I would do instead is to build a site quickly that's going to tell your story, that's going to put your message across. Again, in the last session, we talked about 10 things that your website must do. If you can build a website quickly using something like Squarespace or Dunked or something off ThemeForest or something like that, where you can build something fairly quickly, then you're going to be just doing it. You're getting out there and doing it. It's a feeling of momentum, if you will. There's in psychology, they call it the Zeigarnik effect. And what that is that feeling you have when you've started something. You know, you've started something, you think, oh, I need to get that thing done because I've started it. That's the real procrastination killer. That will solve any procrastination problem if you just get started with stuff, because once you started with it, and you'll know this from just personal experiences, once you started, you kind of like, right, I need to do that. I need to get going with that. I need to continue with that. And that can only happen when you are achieving some momentum. And that again is what we do at Freelance Life Pro, to build a monthly goal into each set of activities so that you feel that element of momentum going forward. And again, my general philosophy on stuff like that is to steal a phrase from Justin Jackson, JFDI. So just bleep do it. The website, that is. So you should be building a website fairly quickly that can just get you off the mark. Next one, I need to put together my attention piece and email sequence first. Again, I hear this quite a lot. If you're anything like me or anything like most of the people I talk to, you are regulars on lots of freelance blogs, regulars on marketing blogs, regulars on blogs of voices in the space. And one of the things they will always say is, oh, right, okay, well, you need to have some giveaway piece of content. You need to have something to give somebody in return for what you're trying to ask them to do. And that is true. And I call it a two-way street. You've got to have that something that people can take away, but it shouldn't stop what you're going to do from an attention point of view. So there are ways to offer something valuable which doesn't require hefty time and preparation. So can you do things like a free consultation? Can you do things like events, things like that I'm doing now, can you give something away that doesn't really take too much in the way of preparation? So in preparation for this event then, I spoke to some friends of Freelance Lift, some people that are really going out and doing it, people that were service providers at one stage, maybe now have moved more into the entrepreneur space, but are doing really well. They've been there, done that, and they've got the t-shirt, so to speak, as I'll just take a sip of water. So in preparation, I asked them, I said, what do you feel was your breakthrough when it came to building attention? Because these guys are, and gals are, building lots and lots of eyeballs. People know who they are. They are building businesses off the back of their reputation. So I reached out to a few of them, and here's what they said. So Corbett Barr, who heads up the successful Fizzle.co, and again, just a reputed voice in this space. His breakthrough moments, again, I asked them what their key breakthrough moments when it came to building attention, when it came to people knowing who they were. So Corbett Barr said, connecting with as many other bloggers and online friends as I could. Remember, he was at that point trying to build a blogging business. So what he's saying here is that there is a value in the relationships that you can build online. And that was one of his key breakthroughs, connecting with as many other people and online friends as he could. And again, that's something that served him well indefinitely as well. You know, he's got on Fizzle, he's got lots of founder stories and lots of things that people are doing. So bringing that back to you and the things that you could be doing, one of the 20 methods that I talk about for building attention as a freelancer is what I call the reverse interview. And what you're doing there is looking to build relationships with potentially influencers and people that are more well-known than you. Everybody is in the same position, regardless of the level that they're at. Everybody's looking to build more attention. Everybody's looking to generate more marketing, generate more leads, generate more interest in the things that they're doing. So one of the things that they're doing at the moment is to be visible on other people's channels, and be that blogs, be that podcasts, be that other video lessons and things like that. So if you run a podcast, or if you start a podcast, could you ask some of these influencers into your podcast? And then you'll start to build some of these relationships before the podcast call, after the podcast call, and in email communication thereafter. You start to build friends with influencers, and then when you need to call upon their help, if you're providing value to them, if you're helping them spread their message, then they'll be there to help you out too. So that was Corbett's. Again, the second one there is focusing more on my audience and less on myself. And while we're chatting here, I can see a few Q&As coming through just now. Be sure to just drop them in as you think of them. So just drop them in the Q&A, and we'll get to them as we proceed here. Paul Jarvis then, who's again well-reputed web designer, who also is moving into lots of other areas now. As I mentioned in the previous call, like me, he's got a waiting list as long as his arm for people that want to work with him, and at the right type of money. So he can open his calendar up at any time, and people will come in and fill that, which is a great position to be in. But it all comes down to the amount of attention he's got, the amount of attention, the amount of eyeballs, the amount of people that know his name. So I asked him what his breakthrough moment was when it came to building attention. So he said, my breakthrough came when I realized I needed to be more specific, not just target the internet. Then I made myself available in this space. So this is something we talked about in depth, obviously, in the last session, that even with attention getting, it's really useful and helpful to be specific about who you're looking to get attention from. Those 3 qualification methods that I mentioned, which was ambition, they've got to be ambitious, they've got to be able to pay. And then the third one was accessible. You've got to be able to know where they hang out and be able to intercept them in their natural habitat, the places that they hang out in. So you're not going to do that unless they're an accessible group of people. And as a result, you're not going to do that if they're not a small enough group of people. One of the members of the 100 Club, I had a call with him the other day, and his struggle was that his Facebook ads campaigns weren't really targeting the right weren't really getting the results he wanted. And when I dug into his campaign, we found that what he was actually doing was targeting people loosely in that space. So it was fairly fine-tuned. The example was fitness instructors. It's fairly fine-tuned, but he was targeting people with the interests of gym, for example. Now, what you get from that is a lot of collateral noise, people talking about going to the gym, people that are gym members, people that own a gym, people that are lots of things related to gym, but not fitness instructors. So what we did instead was retune that from a group of people of about 10 million to a group of people that are about 20,000. We picked off some coaches of freelance of fitness instructors, and we picked some like certification bodies for freelance instructors. So you can see we're building it right down and condensing it into a group of people that we can access. So it's really important to not only figure out what your messaging is going to be and how that relates to that person, but it's also useful when it comes to building attention, as Paul has found out there. And Paul Jarvis, incidentally, writes for places like entrepreneur.com, inc.com, Huffington Post in the business section, because the people that he wants to be working with, that's where they are hanging out. And D Non-Tenant, again, who I spoke about quite a lot in the last session, because he's an expert copywriter at informationhighwayman.com. He said, a big breakthrough for me was overcoming the fear of content, being willing to write in a personal way. Then I think the most effective way that service providers and freelancers can build attention is by demonstrating their expertise on a well-read blog. I'm interested to know again in the Q&A whether it's something that you've tried really, whether it's an area that you've tried to build content. Content and blogging is something has been a hot topic forever, and I imagine it will just continue to be, because lots of people get value from it. That's one of the things that I did initially with Freelance Live, was to just start building content. It only takes a couple of shares from an influencer here and there to build some attention to that message. Again, bear in mind that when you are putting together content and when you're attracting attention from the people that are going to most likely buy your service, rather than the people that are your peers, which is an interesting distinction really, because targeting peers can help, but consider then whether they might ever buy anything from you. So as a designer, for example, it's quite easy to write about designer stuff. As a content writer, for example, as a blogger, it's quite easy to write about blogging sort of stuff, the results you've been having, the ways that you've been able to do blogging well as a content writer or whatever. But bear in mind that your audience, the person that you're looking to pitch your services to, might not be in that frame of mind. They might not be asking the questions that you're trying to answer with that blog. So when you're thinking about content marketing, when you're thinking about blogging, think about the sensitivities that the specific audience that you're looking to target has, and pitch content accordingly. Don't try and focus it too much on your peers, otherwise you might alienate the people that you really want to focus on, which is that real audience. Tom Uwem, who heads up leaving workbehind.com. Sorry, I went blank then. He said a couple of things, quite a detailed response. Don't chase the breakthrough. Build valuable content and the breakthrough will come to you gradually. Be yourself, lay out your personality. Personal, emotional content seems to resonate best. Provide value to build trust and genuine reciprocity. And don't underestimate the value of good design. By having your own house in order, you'll be able to use it as a believable, valuable, central platform for your message and for your content, which really echoes everything that I say. Again, it's sometimes as well difficult to tell you that there is a long process here. Unless you are investing heavily in building attention and building content, then it's going to be a while in the coming. So don't give up. Don't feel as though a lack of success instantly means that it's a bad campaign. There is a couple of ways that you can speed it up. And again, one of the things that we have at Freelance Live Pro is a course on everything related to marketing, of course. But as far as building attention goes, it might be a long old slog. But again, just be yourself, lay out your personality within the content that you've got on your site, and start to think about how you can reward the attention that you're going to get from your audience. And again, we're going to really the things that you need to have in place to be able to reward that as we go forward. Don't underestimate the good design as well. Don't underestimate the value of good design, sorry, is a good one too. Because again, that aligns with some of the things that I was saying in the last session. So yeah, so attention then really is the ultimate catalyst, because what it does is it's one of the major factors actually that separates the struggling freelancer from the effortless successful. Once you're visible to a wider audience, once you're known, everything becomes a little bit easier. Traffic becomes a little easier to come by. Your trust factor is boosted because the arriving visitor, when they hit your site, has some context already. Referrals from your peer group are infinitely more likely as well, and you'll get another chance if a prospective client doesn't make contact the first time. Because if you are visible in a space, then guess what? They'll see you not just once, but a few times as they travel around the web. So the point of visibility is to ensure that you've got a little bit more of a spread and a little bit more chance of being the blip on the radar of that dream client, the person that you really want to work with. And again, traffic becomes easier to come by because you've got things in place that are going to help people arrive at your site. The more content you got on your site, the more Google likes it. The more Google likes it, the more likelihood there is of ranking naturally for stuff, although that's not what we're talking about here too much. And then again, trust factor is boosted, because if you've got attention from any one of these methods that we're going to talk about, you're going to have some visibility in places other than your own site, which is a really important distinction as well. Because if nobody knows you beyond the realms, beyond the walls of your site, as it were, then you're going to find it quite difficult to attract new people into it, which might be something that you're struggling with at this moment in time. So attention is the ultimate catalyst. And again, when we talk about the breakthroughs, when I talk about breakthroughs to some of the pros, if you will, some of the people that have really made it, like the ones that we've just talked about there, that's what they tell me is their main breakthrough. When it comes to generating a higher rate for your freelance work, when it comes to being more visible and getting more leads, attention is the ultimate catalyst. But there's a distinction, really. There's a difference between marketing and attention. So one of the things I talk about quite a lot is the fact that marketing is everything that makes the likelihood of the sale greater. I'll say that again. Marketing is everything that makes the likelihood of the sale greater, which is an interesting way to look at it. But what that means is that things like proposals are marketing, your website is marketing, the way that you handle yourself on email is marketing, your blog is marketing. Everything that your potential client can see is potentially marketing. So it's logos, color schemes, whatever people engage with that makes the likelihood of the sale greater, even by a fraction of a percent, is marketing, which is dangerous, really, because it sometimes can get us into the habit of thinking, okay, well, if proposals are marketing, if websites are marketing, if blogs are marketing, then I'm doing marketing, I'm good. But what you don't have then is that element of attention. So attention then is everything that a prospective client will see outside of the realm of your own site. And have a think about that. So everything that a potential client will see prior to making a decision that you're the right type of, you're the right provider for them. So those are attention versus marketing elements. Again, marketing is everything that makes the likelihood of the sale greater. Attention, on the other hand, is the visibility that you have in a wider space. So there's a definite distinction there, and it's one thing to bear in mind, really, that there is a distinction in those two areas. And that boring word research, it all starts with research, really. And what I'm going to do in this section, really, is to show you where I would start. You know, we talked in the last session there about where I would start if I started again. Some of the research that I put in to find out, okay, what market, what size of business will I go for this time? Given that, again, I want to narrow down my prospective pool of clients to increase the likelihood of making the sale. So it starts with research. First place then is social life, online social life, that is. So what channels do your what channels do your prospects hang out on from a social media point of view? Are they more likely to be on Twitter? Are they more likely to be on LinkedIn? What about Pinterest? Again, thinking about what they use social media for is useful as well. So for example, my audience, which was bloggers and bloggers and authors, generally use Facebook and Twitter, and they use both channels for personal and professional uses. They're not as visible on LinkedIn, they're not as visible on Pinterest. They always follow specific industry voices. That is to say, I could start to think about, okay, well, maybe if all of the people that are in my industry follow this person, then what if I put an ad that targeted all followers of that person? Do you think it would end up in the right hands, it end up in the right place? And the answer is probably yes. And wise to advertising on social media? Well, they're generally happy to participate. What I mean by that is they understand what an ad looks like. So on Facebook, for example, if you're trying to trick them in any way, or if you're trying to do anything that feels a little bit spammy, then they'll spot it. They are wise to social media, they're wise to advertising on social, but they're happy to go along with it. So that's the first thing. In your case, it's going to be this more specialist audience, this narrower pool of customers. Where do they hang out online, on social media at least? And really, what purposes do they use social media for? Are they generally using Facebook at home for personal stuff, and then do they go into work and use LinkedIn? There are different ways that people use social media, and there are different channels that people find themselves on too. So that's the first one. Have a think about the social life of your narrower pool of customers, your prospective dream client. Then web life. What channels do they hang out on? In my case, it was Pro Blogger, Copy Blogger, maybe the Fizzle Sparkline, maybe they were looking at places like Pat Flynn. These are the places that this audience hang out. So from your point of view, you got to think about then, well, where might they hang out, and what are their demographics really, I suppose, because that'll start to give you some instance really of ideas. So which site could you be sure that they'd find themselves on? And really, what type of content do they generally consume? So, for example, channels like BuzzFeed, they aim specifically at a B2C audience. So that's things like cat videos, funny viral posts, or celebrity gossip. And that serves the need of the BuzzFeed audience, which is to drive visits to third parties. So if they are on BuzzFeed fairly regularly, and it's potentially a B2C audience, business to consumer audience, then maybe you do getting engaged in cat videos or funny viral posts. This starts to lead some of the things that you'll be putting in place down the line, and also some of the places that you might want to be visible in yourself. So Pro Blogger, Copy Blogger, Fizzle Sparkline, and Pat Flynn. So that was the ones that I picked out for authors and bloggers. So where online do your audience hang out? Which sites could you be sure that they'd find themselves on? Next one then is market moves and aspirations. Again, this is an interesting one because it comes back to the specialism module. We're looking at, when we looked at the specialist client and how you pin down a specialist client, we're starting to look at the things that they're struggling with, the pains that they might be experiencing on a regular basis. More often than not, a pain is a reaction to not achieving a certain aspiration. So when you think about what their aspirations might be, it starts to make it a little bit easier to pitch content towards them. So for example, in the author and blogger space here, what they were interested in, or the market moves and their aspirations, were they potentially struggled with complex WordPress setups. They needed more API integrations. They were struggling a little bit because they were a higher tier of blogger. They needed things like conversion tools. These were like market moves, trends that people were coming up against. So for your case, what changes are occurring in the industry that you're looking to pitch your services towards? And should they really be taking advantage of them? So again, I talked at length in the book, Stop Thinking Like a Freelancer, about that, about the link between pain and action. And it's one of those things, when somebody looks for a service, it's generally in a response to a pain. Now, a pain can be something that they're struggling with on a regular basis, or it can be something more general, a lack of achievement against a certain aspiration. And again, from the market moves side of things, something that I talked about again in the book was that keeping up with the Joneses effect. If you have an audience set who are genuinely ambitious, then guess what? They're going to care about the moves that the next site along is making, or the next business along is making. In my case, in 2010, 2011, in the web design space, I was talking a lot about responsive web design. Not a lot of people had responsive sites. They were kind of hacking it halfway with like plugins and things like that. So one of the things I talked to people about, because I understood their market moves and their aspirations, was the fact that they didn't have a responsive site, with the fact that they might have been missing out on mobile traffic. So have a think about that. Have a think about the aspirations that client might have, simply because you can then start to appear where they hang out. So on Reddit, for example, you can be replying on threads, people talking about some of the market moves, talking about a lack of achievement towards aspirations and things like that. So again, what research are they doing already? That will start again to help you have some clarity on that, really. What are their market moves and what aspirations do they have for their business? Because again, this will make it a little bit easier to go out there and find them. All right, so attention then is a two-way street, as I've said here. So how can you reward a prospect's attention? One of the things that people will always look towards when it comes to being grateful for receiving something is value. So when somebody hits your site, what they're expecting is just another run-of-the-mill freelancer website. But if you're able to provide something that gives them something in return, so that maximizes the value of their visit, then they're going to remember you, they're going to give you their email address, and they're going to be available then for you to nurture them thereafter. So when I talk about building value, when I talk about giving stuff away, it really comes down into a few categories. So first one is tell me something I don't know. So if you're producing a PDF, report, video, a case study or whatever, then just try and provide them something that gives them some maybe provocative or counterintuitive ideas. Next one might be results in advance. So can you give them something, a sample, trial, or some other no-brainer offer which gives just a flavor of what you're offering, just without having that friction of a price in there. So for example, I sometimes host one-to-one Skype calls as part of Freelance Lift. And these are free, and they are a taster then of what might come within the 100 Club. Going above and beyond again, so if you're approaching somebody in their natural habitat, that maybe asking a question on Quora, again, these are all starting to go into the realm now of what you might do to go and attract attention. But if you're doing that, why not put together a deeper than expected Q&A response? If you have, or a thoughtful blog comment, or an email that you might just send somebody out of the blue, which is just helping them on their way. That is going to help them remember you. That's going to help them help you be the blip on their radar. And that's what this is all about. When we're talking about attention, we're talking about just being more visible to the people that you want to be visible to. Remember, it's a difference between making the likelihood of the sale greater with marketing than attention. Being the blip on the radar, driving them back to your site. And if you can counterpart that visit with some element of value, so for example, when somebody hits my site looking for the book, Stop Thinking Like a Freelancer, I offer them a chapter for free. They take that, they give me their email address, and that enables me then to nurture them thereafter. And again, this is the same for you as well, even as a service provider. And it's the same for me. If you go to the Tone site, which is tone.co.uk, you'll see ebooks, you'll see videos, you'll see things that we are providing to people that maximizes the value of their visit. So one of the things that we hear quite a lot is, oh, I love the videos that you got. Oh, I love the ebooks that you've got available. That's us building that attention. It's maximizing the value of their visit. And if you can do that, then you start to be stand ahead of the people that you're competing against. Remember, what we talked about right from the outset here was breaking away from that, what I call exchange mindset. So that thing of saying, well, I'm anonymous because I feel like I'm the 60th of 75 proposals that a prospect is getting for this work. What we really want to do is forget about freelancer exchanges altogether. Build a platform of your own, build a site of your own, and then go and attract attention where the specific audience that you've identified will hang out. That is the key to generating 5-figure projects. You know, that is the key to the $10,000 upwards mark, to have a voice of your own, have a platform of your own, and be able to be visible outside of the four walls of that environment, as I said. So just bear in mind, if you want to potentially maximize the visit, maximize the attention that you're going to get, and give some reciprocity to that, and ensure that you can grab an email address and make that first visit valuable, then have a think about how you can give something away that's going to reward that prospect's attention. And the next bit then is understanding really the purpose of attention, because we've talked about the fact that everything's easy with attention, the fact that you can go out and build attention, and it makes traffic easier, it makes referral opportunities easier, and it makes it easier for you to be spotted the second time around as a freelancer. So once you've got that attention, what is the purpose of it? Because it's important to know what the purpose is before you go out and get it. So first purpose is validation. When somebody hears your name or when you are visible to somebody, they'll want to be, the first objective is that somebody hits your site and you're validated as a potential supplier. So someone hits the site and they say, okay, I like this person. They could potentially do some work for me. I'll maybe give them my email address for this piece of content, and off we go. Validation. You've been validated at that point that you are a decent provider. You are a good provider for the service that you're looking to give somebody. Next one then is relationships. A secondary benefit or a secondary purpose of attention is to build relationships. Again, you build relationships by giving somebody something of value that they are prepared to give you their email address for, or they're prepared to maybe follow you on social media for, or they're prepared to get you on Skype or whatever the outcome might be. That is the start of a relationship. In the course that we just did in Freelance Lift Pro for March, it was all about building desire. So what comes after attention and what comes before the proposal. The bit in the middle is the bit that a lot of people miss out on. They try and jump from, I've got somebody's email address, I've had one call with them on Skype maybe, and I'm going to send them a proposal. So in the workshop we're going to do on Wednesday, we're going to go through all that. We're going to talk about what happens after the attention point, once you've highlighted who your specialist client is going to be, what their characteristics are. You've reshaped your site accordingly. You've gone out there and grabbed attention back to this site, which is now working better. You're giving them something of value. In return, they're giving you their email address. And then from there, you're building desire. You're taking them through a process of education, of differentiation about you and your message. You're then transitioning them into a sales or commercial, at least, conversation, and then you're going into a period of discovery. And then from there, after your discovery is complete, you'll go into the proposal stage. So I'll park that until now. That's that bit after the attention, but just bear in mind that the purpose, the end goal, is to get that relationship started. So that's the second purpose of attention. First one being validation. You want to ensure that people can validate that you're the right person for the job. Third one then is credibility. The more attention you have, and you'll see this, you'll see this everywhere. The more attention you got, the more credibility you've got, a perceived credibility at least. So it's important to at least recognize that, because the person that's got 20,000 Twitter followers in your space, that comes with an element of credibility, unless they're all fake, of course. But that's the purpose, the third purpose at least anyway. And once you've got validation, and once you've got credibility, and once you've started a relationship, then the job of your attention as it relates to winning new clients is done. At that point, then it becomes a job of your pre-sale dialogue. All right, so this is where we get into the meat here. We've got about 15 minutes to go. So again, just please drop out any Q&As in that you have at this point, and we'll get to them at the end. And we'll talk about some of the ideas here, some of the key ways that you can be visible to the clients that you're looking to be visible to. As I say, for this second event, we're talking more about attention. The next event, we'll talk about building desire and building your proposal. The first event was talking about how you build a specialist vision for a client, and then how you wrap that into a website. So get them as a specialist, make a website that fits their worldview, that pushes their buttons, go out and demand attention, build desire, and deliver a kick-ass proposal. That's 5 links of a perfect chain, really. So if you can get all these done, then you're in a really good position. So we're now talking about this particular bit, which is highlights, really. And as I say, I've only got 15 minutes left, so we can't really go through them all, because as I say, there are 20 of them, but I'm going to go through 6 here today. First one is the blip. So one of the things that you'll notice again is when you are visible to somebody from one place or another. So if you follow them on social media, if you tweet their stuff, if you comment on a blog post that they made, if you add them on any other Facebook channels, then they'll start to see you, start to recognize your name. At that point, you're the blip on their radar. It's really important to understand that, because having that blip just enables you to be visible to them. So it's quite easy to put together. It doesn't take too much time, but it starts with having a hit list of people. So what I would do for this particular one, for the blip, is to start to say, okay, well, I figured out now who my audience might be. Now let's have a think about the people that match that profile. And then I'm just going to go and be visible to them. I'm going to be the blip on their radar. So I'm going to like their latest Facebook status, and then I'm going to like 2 others in the future. I'm going to post an insightful comment on a recent blog post of theirs. I'm going to quote one of their tweets, or at least 2 Twitter updates. I'll follow them on social media. This is a technique that a lot of people use for I suppose, nurturing influencers. And you'll see lots of people talking about this, but it's just really, really useful for nurturing prospective clients too. Now, again, this particular method is more about being visible to people that you know about already. Likewise with the disruption too. And again, the reason it's 1 to 3 is I'm going to jump through 6 of the 20. So it's going to be in all jumbled up numbers. I call this a disruption. Effectively, what we're talking about here is cold email. Cold email is one of my most favorite topics to talk about, simply because it's so easy to get wrong and so easy to fix. So what I tend to say initially is that firstly, you need to obviously profile some specific clients, and it's really a viable exercise to just reach out to them directly by email. I would maybe combine that with the blip too, in order that you first a blip on their radar, and then you'll think about, okay, well, let's try and reach out to them personally. So a few tips then here. Just, you should address a particular pain point that the prospect might have. So as a tip, a globally true pain or fear is being overtaken by competitors. So if they are genuinely ambitious, then you can start to talk to them about, okay, well, I don't know if you've noticed, but XYZ in your spaces started doing this. They're really getting some good results from it. And likewise, if you've got other clients that you can give them tidbits of case studies for, start to talk about that. So a potential pain point that they might be struggling with. Cover as well that it's not a pitch, so it's just a contribution at this point from a follower, somebody with ideas to bring to the table. And cover off as well that a reply is optional, so give them an easy out. And it's one of those things in psychology, arguing against the primary purpose of the thing that you're doing. So in this case, the primary purpose of sending an email to somebody is, of course, to get a reply, to get first a read and then a reply. So if you're arguing against that and saying, look, you don't need to reply, I'm just pleased that you were able to consume this if you did manage to read it. But if you do get a chance to reply, then that's great. Give them an easy out, respect their time, make it easy for them to say no. And again, in the course, in the book as well, everything's easy with attention. We break that down, and we've got a template in there that you can use and take away. But yeah, in the main, it's about that. It's about being respectful of their time. It's about giving them an easy out, and it's about not being so commercial at that point. It's about giving them ideas based on real stuff happening. It's personal. A good example, a good thing that you can use as well is a platform called Get Sidekick from HubSpot. And what that enables you to do is to send emails from Gmail and from Outlook and a couple of other places. And it tags the links in the emails themselves. So it kind of brings an element of the automated emails into manual emails. So it's kind of useful. You can get a free account on there too. So it's useful, again, just to look at that kind of thing. So that's getsidekick.com. So let's take a look at a couple of other ways that you can build attention then as a freelancer. So the professional headhunt then, as I call it, and again, each one of these has a name, because what I talk about is that these should be plays. These should be things that you get to as it relates to having a series of things that you want to achieve. So these are plays, and you can pull out these plays as often as you want to. So the professional headhunt, effectively, we're talking then about advertising via LinkedIn. So if you have identified within the social life, within the research phase, that your audience is likely to hang out on LinkedIn, and guess what? You can advertise to them. You can advertise to businesses that are over a certain amount of revenue, that have less than a certain number of employees, that have a certain job title. And this is really powerful because it means that you can put your message right in front of them whilst they're within their daily life. So again, the professional headhunt is so called because it generally people that are on LinkedIn are doing so from a professional for professional purposes. So you're able to intercept them when they're in professional mode, really. And if you're able to tie that in and give them something of value for that visit, then you really start to maximize the effectiveness of this. So that's LinkedIn advertising. Next one then, the elevator pitch, and I'll whip through these quite quickly. The elevator pitch then. Have you ever seen an ad on YouTube? I'll answer that for you, yes. So have you ever wondered why people even bother doing it? Well, it's kind of because it works. Like, you can put an ad on YouTube for in the realm of 5 to 10 cents per view. Now, a view doesn't occur until the user has actually watched over 75% or over 25%, sorry, of the video itself. So it's actually quite cost effective, and it means that even as a service provider, if you can, as we'll go into the next one, if you can tie it in with other methods and put it to, let's say, for example, you're targeting piano tutors as a rough example, then you can target all videos that are talking to that specific topic, which is really useful. So you can put your message in front of them where they are hanging out. So if they're on YouTube at that point, then it's a good one to go for, and it's really cheap. And you can put together something quite simple. It's like an animated video. You get somebody on Fiverr to put that together quite quickly. The chaser. So this one is something, again, you might have tried. It's quite simply remarketing. So if you've ever been on a website and you go away from that website, and then all of a sudden you've got banners here for the same site, banners up there, a video here, and things plotted around the web, that's called remarketing or retargeting, depending on which platform you use. What it is basically is people that have visited your site, people that have registered themselves, have tagged themselves with a cookie, you can show ads to them. So you can use places like adroll.com, you can use places like adwords.com, Facebook do retargeting as well. So what you're trying to do then is to chase around any people that you've been able to drive back to your site naturally. You can chase them around the web with your message. Number 16, the Zucker Punch. I'm quite proud of that name, actually. So Facebook advertising, this one. Facebook advertising is one of those things where it's super easy to get wrong. So there are two things. First thing, it's really easy to get wrong. Second thing is that there are lots and lots of people talking about how they've absolutely made bank from it, which is a really strange thing to happen. So lots of people will say, oh, well, I get 1 cent, 2 cents, 3 cents a click, or words to that effect, which is possible, but it's not possible when you're targeting the right type of visitor for you. What's more realistic is to get in the realm of 20 cents, 25 cents per click. So as you can see, if you can get a specialist audience and figure out what kind of things they're interested in, if you can put together a website which fits their worldview, which is interesting to them, and if you can go and get one visit for 25 cents, you can test it with 100, get 100 visits, spend $25, get them to your site, ask them to download something of value to them, so you would think, see what happens, try and validate that, try and validate that your messaging is good, is right, and then try and build a relationship, remembering the 3 purposes of building attention. So I think that's really valuable, and this is something I talk about quite a lot. And in the course, again, I talk more specifically about how you would go out there and do that as a freelancer. But have a think about that. Have a think about the potential return on that investment. $25 to get 100 people to your site that's been fine-tuned for that specific type of visitor. So it's really useful at that point. So that's Facebook ads, aka the Zucker Punch. That was number 16. All right, so getting it done then. Here are some of the things that you'll need to get anything done. To make real change in your business, here are the 3 things that I always talk about that will be required to really make it work for you. So the first one is accountability. You'll need an element of accountability. So tough love from a mentor or peers, and just a sounding board for some of the ideas, some of the things that you're trying to implement. Then you'll need some direction, so that's support and guidance from someone who's been there and done it. Then you'll need some tunnel vision, so just guided periods of focus to get it done. This is how any change is made. as I've appropriately put there, that is the point at which shit gets done. When those three are in place, then that's when stuff gets done. That's when real change is made in your business. And that's why I have 100 people in the Freelance Live Pro 100 Club who are delighted and are not going anywhere, which again is what I'm trying to offer here, even with the middle tier of Freelance Live Pro. So I really hope you can take a look at it once it comes. And that's what we're trying to offer here: the accountability, direction, motivation, and focus to really make some changes. So in the last section, we talked about some of the previous things that went on. So we talked about the building a specialist vision for your dream client. Then we talked about building a solid, credible web presence, then attracting some attention and driving interest, then making your client desire what you're offering. And then the fifth one along there is building a proposal. These are all courses that exist in Freelance Live Pro, and these are all things that people within Freelance Live Pro are benefiting from right now. And again, just to confirm, that's what we do. It's the hands-on support, in-depth training, and everything you'll need to achieve momentum by knocking down regular goals. Again, as I said, this event is part of a series of 3 events. The next one is on Wednesday, and this one was all about building attention to your message. So the first one was all about, okay, let's figure out who that dream client might be. Let's repurpose our site so that it works for that worldview. Then let's go and find more of those people and grab their attention. So grab their start a relationship, validate the message. Then let's build desire in those people to a point then when we're building a proposal. So these are all courses that exist within Freelance Live Pro. And on Thursday, when we launch this new level, I'm going to give you all that and give you some examples of how you can get involved. All right, well, that about closes off. I'm 3 minutes early. I didn't even rehearse that, so we jumped straight in there. 3 minutes early still. So I might have gone a bit too quickly there on some of these topics. Again, there's only so much that I can fit in. We're talking hours and hours worth of workshops, video courses, books, and other content and live one-to-one calls and things like that where I've gone through this with people. But if I've gone quickly in any area, then please drop a Q&A. I'm here now for as long as you need me until I get through everything that's on the Q&A section there. So with that said, I will jump into it. All right, so first one, which is John Robertson. What is your daily routine when it comes to connecting via social media? Well, again, it depends on which side of me you're talking about. So I've got 2 sides. I've got the service provider side. And again, this is something that differentiates me from a lot of gurus. I'm not some faceless, distant guru guy. I'm somebody that's active. I'm in the field. I have a business that sells services to people. My job isn't to sell you stuff. I do sell stuff. I sell books and I sell training, but it's all with a view to getting people to where I am now. I've been able to develop a business that's generated $1 million, probably $1.4 million now over that period of time. I've done so by leveraging some of the ideas that I teach at Freelance Live Pro. So there's 2 sides of me. There's the service provider side at Tone, and then there's the Freelance Live side. So given that everybody on here is freelancers, I'll talk about the service provider side. So what we actually do is we do a similar kind of thing. So we have a specialist vision for who our client might be. In our case, it's businesses in the UK, but also around the world who have between 20 employees and 50 employees who are roughly in the turnover range of 10 million and 50 million. So these are the people that we're targeting. And then what we try and do is to try and get into those people. So we're doing LinkedIn advertising, focusing on the people that have the job title of marketing manager, marketing director, sales director. And what that does is give us then traffic. It gives us people and eyeballs coming to our site. What they then do is they go and they grab ebooks and watch videos and things like that. So our process, our daily routine then is to pick the list of people that are actively giving us their information and then go out there and attack them on social media. So we're following them on Twitter, we're retweeting their stuff when we can find the correct person, we're reaching out to them on LinkedIn, and we're inviting them to just do stuff with us. So we run events and things like that. So in your case, if you don't yet have a list of people coming through, then my advice to you from a daily routine point of view would be to create a list of people that you would like to work with, people that fit the criteria of client that you're looking to work alongside. Get those 15, 20 names and websites, the set of people that you currently are looking to focus on, and just go out there. And I would first follow them on Facebook if they have a fan page, and also Twitter. If they're small enough, they'll probably see it. Then you can look at just retweeting some of their stuff. And the killer one, relay, because everybody's looking for more comments and more readership on the blog, is to leave a really in-depth response to some of their work. Now, what a lot of other people do, and again, this is something that some of the 100 Club members have started to do, is to leverage the support of like an external help, so like a virtual assistant who will go then and look for people that are talking about on Reddit, and talking about on Quora, StumbleUpon, Medium, Clarity Answers, talking about things that you can generally help with. So if I hover over you and see your skills there, John, I can't quite see it, although do you have a camera in your hand? I think you do. So I imagine you're a photographer. So if there are people talking about how they have maybe tried a photographer, a professional photographer, and didn't quite get the results they were looking for, you can set up a Google alert that pulls that information into you, go and answer the question, then go and follow that person, and go and see if there's ways that you can interact with them within social media. So our daily routine is to go out and interact with the people that have given us their information. So if you don't have that yet, then build a hit list of people that you would like to work with potentially, and go out and do that. Again, if then you want to do it the other way and build that list like we've done, then look at places like Facebook where you can generate quite a lot of traffic quite quickly, push them back to your page, and then try and get them to do something of value to you. So give them your email, give you their email address. I hope that helps. All right, so next one is Lee. When it's too soon to pitch a prospective client. In one particular case, the prospect had said they were interested, so I sent a killer pitch to them, and to no avail. I never heard from them again. What could I have done before sending my pitch? All right, so this is an interesting concept. So what we are talking about here is, at what point do you send a pitch within that realm of relationship building and desire building? So what I talk about is generating attention to somebody. So once you've got somebody's attention, and once you've driven them back to your message, then there's 4 phases that I recommend you go through prior to even sending a proposal, because it's just not the right time. First one is education. You need to educate them as to you, your message, what difference you're going to bring to the table, and why I might want it. Second one is differentiation. You need to tell the person, the client, the prospective client, why you're different, and again, what you're going to bring to the table, because there are 1,000 reasons that people wouldn't reply, 1,000 reasons that people wouldn't take your service. And what you want to ensure is that they don't have the chance to say those, because they've committed at every point. So they committed at education stage. They've said, oh yeah, that's interesting. I never thought about that. They've committed at differentiation stage. They've said, oh, okay, that's interesting. You're different there. Then you need to transition that. So you need to then start talking more commercially and saying, so anyway, this is a service that I offer. These are things that I can bring to the table. This is how I've done it for other people. Maybe even talk about a price range at that point, just to ensure that there is an element of interest there. Because again, before sending a proposal, you need to ensure that somebody's interested in what you're offering. So that's the third one, transitioning to a more commercial conversation. Fourth one is then discovery, and that's really the important one. So once you've built all this stuff, you'll have a client that is going from possible, so they're a possible client, to probable. You want to take a client from being possible to being probable. So your discovery then is where you start to talk about what they want to get out of the project, what things they've struggled with before, so you can start to pitch then your proposal to that. But again, the point of all that, point of education, the point of differentiation, the point of the transition point, and the point of education, which actually I will go through on Wednesday, so definitely stay tuned for that, everybody that's listening here and watching. Point of going through those 4 is to build desire, is for somebody to say that I want it, I really, really want it. I know everything there is to know about it. You've answered my concerns and I want it. The mistake is to send a proposal before any one of those has been qualified, before the client has really understood what the thing is or what they want, what they might want to buy. So at that point, it's too early, before they've expressed some element of desire. So I hope that helps. Okay, so Suki here. I'm a full stack developer, and at the moment rely on Elance to get clients. How do I go about getting clients outside of Elance? Do I have to do cold calling? No, probably not. Cold calling, again, maybe it's like cold email and cold calling, you're bunching together. So let's say, I don't think cold calling is the right choice to anybody really these days. A better method is some of the methods that we talked about today. So it's building attention that is in the places that your audience might hang out. So if you're a full stack developer, then you might be either looking for work with the end client or looking for work with the agencies. So if you take the end client out of the way, maybe, and you look at then just focus on agencies or people that might want to outsource to you, then you've got to figure out, right, okay, well, who are they? Who is that section of person? What do they care about? What are their desires? What are their beliefs? What are their fears? So in the case of like an agency owner that might want to outsource their work to you, their concerns at that point, their desires, beliefs, fears, their concerns, their pains might be that they just have too much work. They need a reliable person that they can outsource some of this full stack web development stuff out to. The mistake that I see a lot of people making is not fine tuning it enough and then launching straight into a series of cold emails and everybody's received really poor quality spam emails. Everybody has. So we recognize them when they come. Now, the people that you're trying to target are probably on that same wavelength. So rather than sending 10,000 emails, I would prefer you to send 10. And I would prefer each one of those 10 to be custom to the person you're trying to reach. So it's first finding out who the person is. That's the key. That's the key to finding out, to attracting their attention, to know who they are to begin with, of course. Start to then maybe think, okay, well, of this 1,000 people, 2,000 people that I could potentially work with, let's pick 10, 15, and let's try and speak to them personally. I would first try and be the blip. I would first try and follow them on Twitter, follow them on social, so at least they recognize your name. Then reach out to them with an email that's specific, then an email that gives them an easy out, an email that focuses on pains and generally doesn't say, I do this, this, and this. Because remember, as I always say, people aren't hiring you because you can design, write, market, or code in your case. They're hiring you because they have a business problem. And that's the same throughout. Your service, so they think, is the answer to that business problem. So in your case, you need to probably figure out first what person is going to work with you best, and you'll look at people that you've worked with on Elance in the past to see, right, okay, well, what type of profile do they fall into? And then it's about going and attracting their attention. Again, cold calling you mentioned, I'll probably not do that. I would probably look more towards cold emailing potentially, but again, making sure that it's the best it can be. If you go to Freelance Lift and then there's a post on there called Portfolio Hustle, that's talking a little bit about cold email. So if you go to Google and put in Portfolio Hustle Freelance Lift, you'll see a post on that. And then on the podcast section, so freelancelift.com/podcast, there's a session in there with Robert Williams. Have a look at that one as well, because that addresses emails and how you put together an email that's going to get a response. So hopefully that helps. Okay. All right, so I've been working on a body of artwork for about 2 years. Should I keep working on that project and wait to go to market? Let me just read that again. I've been working on a body of work for a book for about 2 years. Should I just keep working on YM project and wait to market? I have a very hard time doing both, or do I really need to build this moment before it's complete? So I think what you're getting at there is whether to start to try and grab attention before everything's ready. So one of the things I talked about as common objections is that I can't really go out and grab attention yet, because what I have here at my base, so my website or the body of work that I've got, isn't quite ready. So at what point do you go out and grab attention? For me, it's about getting the body of work right, but not procrastinate on it and doing the minimum that you can to ensure that it will match those 3 points of attention. So the 3 purposes of attention is validation. People need to come and validate what you are doing, which you can do fairly quickly and easily. Second one is it should start relationships. So have a think about the minimum you can do, and a one-page site is fine for this. Well, the minimum you can do is to build a relationship, and then yeah, how I would recommend not to procrastinate too much on the work that you've got. Do enough to tick the boxes from the last session, and you can check it out on Freelance Lift YouTube to see what the 10 things your website must do. Build a website that's going to tick those 10 boxes, do it as quickly as you can, and then start to go out and build attention. You can always refine later. You just need to get started. You need to build the momentum quickly and get started, and just go ahead and do that. All right, so thanks for that. So that is about all of the Q&As that we've got for this session. I'll give it a second to see if there's anybody else that's going to pop in and give me a question here. And if not, then I'll close off and bid you good evening. All right, so all that remains is for me to say thanks for joining me today. Look forward to seeing you on Wednesday. I'm going to send a replay around of this session. Remember, on Wednesday, we're going to talk about building desire. Again, answering the question that Lee had. Building desire before you send that pitch in order that you get a response. As I say, there are 1,000 reasons that a client will not want to work with you. The 1,000 reasons they'll talk themselves out of doing work with you. So ensure that you prevent that by building enough desire. With enough desire, there are no obstacles. Then how do you wrap all of that into a proposal that's going to really push their buttons? It's going to really say, okay, I want this thing, based on the things that you've talked to them about, based on the research that you've done about them and the pains that they might have, and based on the discovery that you've done for that particular client. So again, those 5 key areas are getting a specialist client, building a site that matches their worldview and that really tells your story, then going out there and grabbing attention, then building desire after you've got that relationship, then delivering a killer proposal. Those are 5 key areas, and those are the courses, the videos, and the workbooks that you can find inside of Freelance Lift Pro. So when we launch on Thursday, I look forward to seeing you inside. You can get started on those straight away. So I'll tell you more about that on Wednesday, but until then, I'll see you soon.